Hey, everybody, welcome to the Ace and TJ Experience. If you're just getting started, just kind of checking in, I'll give you a little background as to what exactly is going on tonight with the Ace and TJ Experience. It's something new that we've been working kind of the kinks out of. This is like our final experiment with the Ace and TJ Experience. And this all centers around something that happened on the show earlier this week. It's called What's Something About You That Sounds Made Up, but is actually true. So we're going to talk to some people in the Ace and TJ radio family who have some incredible stories tonight to share. And if you have one along the way, if you think of something, oh, I've got one I want to share as well, all you do is click the raise your hand feature down at the bottom. Just pump the raise your hand feature. It'll pop up. Teddy Rob will get you brought up, and we'll be ready to go to get your story on tonight. This Ace and TJ Experience is sponsored by NeoGenix. I cannot say enough great things about NeoGenix. You'll see on your screen our friend Niko from NeoGenix. NeoGenix has 2 locations in the Charlotte area, one in Ballantyne, one in Lake Norman. We're going to talk about a couple of things that are going on with NeoGenix and tell you some more about that as we go throughout tonight's edition of the Ace and TJ Experience. But again, the experience tonight is set up around a simple question. What's something about you that sounds made up but is actually true? And we're going to blow your mind and have a lot of fun tonight with some of the things that are coming up. So this is Pamela Hoover. First, Pamela, thanks for being a part of the Ace and TJ Experience. But you had something happen to you when you were 5 years old.
Yes, correct.
It's a little out of the ordinary. Tell everybody what happened to you.
So I was running in and out of a field that my parents and grandparents were playing horseshoes in. This field had an electric fence around it, but they had the gate of the fence down while they were playing. Well, I didn't realize that they put the gate back up, and it's just one single strand of electric fence. So I ran through again, and the whole fence went directly into my mouth crosswise and burnt the sides of my mouth.
Oh.
So I basically ate the electric fence.
Oh.
I like Niko's response.
Oh, yeah.
So you're 5 years old. You're just running. And next thing you know, the fence, it would be bad enough because the fence itself, like a wire like that, hitting you in the face would just snap your head back anyway.
Yeah,
but
it went right through my mouth.
It went in your mouth, and then as you hit it, I guess you were being electrocuted in a way.
Yeah. I went down, had the burn marks, and yeah, like I said, I survived. That was all right. I didn't even go to the doctor or anything. My mom found it awfully funny. She just laughed.
But when you said the burn marks, was it like the Joker where it burned at the edges of your mouth, kind of like that?
Yeah, both sides. So I had that for a while until it healed.
I was gonna say that's awesome. It's not, but it's kind of cool.
Well,
so how long did it take? Did it affect your ability to eat or anything like that?
No.
Did taste buds didn't bother any of that stuff?
No, didn't bother anything. Just had some burn marks that had to heal. But it was amazing that it was at the exact right level of my mouth.
Okay, did it? And my thought was, the wire, did it cut the edges of your mouth at all? Okay.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. I don't notice it anymore. That was quite a while ago, but I healed.
But it's
something no one would believe that would happen right in my mouth.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for being a part of the Ace and TJ Experience and sharing your story, Pamela.
Yep.
So again, what's something about you that sounds made up but is actually true? And we do have a few members of the Ace and TJ radio family, like Kelly, who have already submitted some ideas. And Kelly has one of the strangest stories that I've really ever encountered, because something happened to Kelly from the time she was 5 until she was 10. And it happened every single weekend. It's this weird thing that happened over and over and over and over and over in her life. So Kelly, from the ages of 5 to 10, tell everybody what you did every single Saturday.
I went to prison and spent the whole day there playing with the other prison kids while my mom visited her boyfriend, whose name she saw on a bulletin board at her work. And she said that God gave her a sign to write to him. So she started writing to him, and then she started a relationship with him. And then until he was 10 years old, we went to visit him every single weekend.
Okay, wait, let's slow down and backtrack just a little bit, because let's start with the fact that how your mom met this guy. So this wasn't like, this wasn't as if he was your dad and he went to prison and your mom was going to visit him, or it was her boyfriend who got in trouble and went to prison. She saw his name on a bulletin board and and felt that God told her to reach out to this person. They struck up a relationship and they began dating while he was in prison.
Right.
And she said, brothers or sisters?
I have, well, I had one sister at the time. I mean, I've
Okay.
got a half sister now, but I had one
Right.
sister.
So that you did, and that she had to go with you every time, I guess.
Yes, that's where
Okay.
we went every weekend.
So then she just said one day, okay, girls, we're going to the prison to see whatever the guy's name was. Do you remember his name?
Yeah, his name was James.
Jay. Okay, so we're going to the prison to see James. You're going to get to meet James. And you were like, okay. And then from the time you were 5 until 10, you went every single Saturday and spent all day at the prison.
Yeah, it was like several hours away. I don't remember exactly the first time we went. I just remember going every weekend. And we would drive. I don't remember. It was like maybe 2 or 3 hour drive. So we would go there every Saturday morning, and we would have to go, of course, like get checked in and get, get searched and everything, and go through all the different doors.
Yeah.
And then we'd go to the waiting area, and then she would hang out with him, and we'd just like stay there the whole day. We'd sit at the table with him, and then we'd go hang out with the other kids and stuff, and then stay there until visiting hours were over.
So it was a 2 to 3 hour drive to get there. Then you spent all day there, and then you've got to drive 2 or 3 hours home.
Yes.
I got a question.
All right. Yes, Niko, fire away.
Well, I'm dying to know, did they end up together?
I'm sorry, what?
Did they end up together when he got released, or what's
Oh,
the end?
yeah, she married him.
Oh, nice. Okay. Still together today?
No, they ended up finally getting divorced after like a really, really, really terrible marriage for years and years. Shocking. I know it's not really a match made in heaven. I think she finally divorced him when I was like 18 years old. And then he ended up dying a few years back.
So you stopped going. He got out, I guess, when you were 10. And then they married shortly thereafter, and they stayed together roughly 7 or 8 years.
Yeah, when he got out, got paroled, I think he moved in with us, and then they got married like immediately after. And then once they got married, he ended up moving us. We were in Tennessee at the time. We ended up moving to North Carolina because that's where all his family was, and that's where we've been ever since.
So that's how you ended up in North Carolina, was because your mom saw this guy's name on a bulletin board. And it's not just that you went to visit him every Saturday. It's the fact that it was a 2 to 3 hour drive. So you're spending anywhere between 5 and 6 hours every Saturday in the car to just go spend the day at the prison so your mom could visit this guy. That is insane.
I wonder now, like, what was she thinking? Like, why would you? I can't even comprehend her thought process at that time. But she did it like every single weekend. Never seemed to
Kelly,
think about it.
You said something a second ago, very nonchalant. You just said, we just spent the day with all the other prison kids. What do prison kids do? I mean, what do you say? What do you do at the prison all day, every day? The prison kids. What happens for the prison kid? That sounds excruciating.
So we would just kind of like all hang out together, just play, whatever, like playing like kids do, and then all of like their moms and dad, well, I guess their dads or stepdads or whoever would visit with their moms. And sometimes we'd go outside and play. There was like a vending machine. We'd go there and do that. I think he got transferred a couple of times, and there was like a weight room with different exercise equipment. We would go in there and just kind of like hang out.
Getting some fitness in while you're hanging out, waiting for mom to finish talking. Hey, is it one of those deals where was she ever allowed? Okay, I don't know how to say it. Well, I'm gonna have to just say it. Were any of those visits conjugal? Or was it all like through the glass, or could they sit at a table together, or what?
It was always at the tables. It was never through glass or anything. No conjugal. It was always just, she went with us and then we left. But it was always in like the visiting areas where they had tables sitting around for all the
that's wild. When I saw that the other day, I was like, that's that person we've got to have on this. So thank you, Kelly. Thanks so much for sharing your story. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
So we talked about NeoGenix while we get Lauren ready to go here in a second. I have had one of my greatest experiences ever with Niko and NeoGenix. NeoGenix, Charlotte's most trusted stem cell clinic, locations in Lake Norman and Ballantyne. But Niko, explain to everybody the different types of treatment that you have while we get Lauren pulled up here and ready to go, because it's not exactly, there are different levels, I guess, to the treatment.
Yeah, so regenerative medicine, ACE, is essentially using the healing properties of your own body to help heal and repair any damaged, cartilage or tissue or wounds. The example I always give people is if you cut your hand or you scrape your elbow, that heals on its own. It forms a scab, it forms a scar, and you look down, a month or so later and everything's gone. So why does that happen? If your body has a good blood supply going to a certain area, then it can get the stem cells and the platelets to those areas to heal it. So we have different area or different treatment options that we offer depending on severity. We can do the platelet-rich plasma like you had on your wrist, which is just a blood draw where we draw your blood and centrifuge the platelets and inject that into your wrist. Great for mild to less moderate issues. And then once you get into more moderate to severe arthritis and tears, then we're going to take stem cells. We get stem cells from either your bone marrow or from your fat tissue. They're both very quick, less than 10-minute procedures. Our doctors have done thousands of them. You'd be in and out of the office in an hour, just local anesthetics only to harvest the stem cells. So it's a very, very quick and efficient option. And again, it's all natural healing going on here.
That's one of the things we'll talk about in a second. For people who don't know, because I didn't know, and it sounded like stem cell clinic. This is going to take hours. Like this is a huge process. It's actually not at all. It wasn't anything like I expected. It was way easier than I thought it was going to be, and super effective. So we'll talk about that in a second. But Lauren's ready to go. Lauren, what is something about you that sounds made up but is actually true? Nope. You need to unmute your microphone there, Lauren, if you would. Oh, for some reason, I still can't hear you, Lauren. I'm sorry.
There we go.
There you go. So what is something about you that sounds made up but is actually true?
So I pocket dialed a classmate I had not seen or spoken to in 26 years. And we are now been married 13 years.
That's
okay,
amazing.
so 26 years and 30, what is it? I was meant to do the math, or that's 39 years ago.
Yes.
How did 39 years ago, how are you pocket dialing someone? That was my biggest question.
Yeah. So I had my phone in my pocket. I was just signing a lease for a new apartment, and pocket dialed somebody who I hadn't seen or spoken to in 26 years. He had all of his contact information through Facebook, and it linked into my phone. It synced.
That was going to be my question. How did you even have his number after 26 years?
Yeah, that was back in, I was new to the whole smartphone thing. So everything synced into my phone. And we swear, like TJ said, it was the Facebook God.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I really don't know how I did it. I got out to my car, took my phone out, and I saw I had a missed call and a voicemail from this person who I hadn't seen in so long. He left me a voicemail that said, "Hey, you called my phone a couple times. Not sure what's up."
Okay, so you didn't actually connect initially. He just left you a message. Did he realize who you were when he left the message?
He did not. It took him a little bit of research to try and figure out, because he also knew another person with the same, with the name Lauren.
Right.
But to make it even more bizarre, he was in South Carolina. I was in Rhode Island. He was living there. I was living in Rhode Island. And
all right. Yeah. So it somehow your phone, it connects through your Facebook in your phone, dials him accidentally. Yeah. He hears it. It's like, I'm not really sure who this is. I'm going to leave a message.
Yeah.
And when you got his message, did you know who he was immediately?
I did. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, what does he mean I left him a message? I was so confused. And I looked down and realized I had called him twice without ever knowing I did that. And I was like, oh my gosh. I said, I am not calling him back. I was so embarrassed. I couldn't believe I did that. When he realized who it was, he texted me. And that just started the whole communication. And here we are.
So you knew who he was immediately once you got the text message. You're like, oh, I'm gonna go ahead and respond to this guy.
Yep.
Okay. In high school, did you know each other well?
We knew each other. He actually dated a friend of mine, and he and his girlfriend set me up on a date with a friend of his shortly after graduation, and that's the last time we saw each other.
Was there any thought in high school like, oh, he's a cute guy, anything like that, or did you have any thoughts about him at all?
Totally out of my league. I said, nope.
Okay, so you're in Rhode Island. He's in South Carolina. You accidentally caught him through Facebook. The two of you decide you're going to get together. What happens first? Like, is it does he come to Rhode Island? Do you come to South Carolina? What happens for you two to finally meet?
We actually both started driving, and we met in Maryland and spent the weekend, and then just started communicating. And I did a lot of traveling to South Carolina, and that was in April is when that all started, and I moved there in early August.
Oh, y'all don't waste any time then. So
No.
from the time you finally spoke until you met in Maryland, how long was that? How long transpired?
2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Yeah.
And then 2.5 months, 3 months later, whatever, you were already moving to South Carolina.
I was to South Carolina, and a year later we were married.
And you've been together ever since.
Yes, we have, happily.
Congrats.
Have you had any type of a high school reunion that you've attended since then?
We have not gone to any of them. We do have one coming up this year, and I think we might try and go.
You have to go. You
know.
gotta go. People will freak out when they see y'all together and hear that story. That's gonna be awesome. You'll be the talk of the whole thing.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Well, congratulations. Tell your husband we said congratulations.
He is
there he is.
His head
That's a good looking couple. Y'all are a very good looking couple together. Thank you, Lauren. Thanks for sharing your story. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
So there's a lady named Brandy coming up next that I wanted to get on because her story I found to be really shocking and very entertaining. But again, tonight's Ace and TJ Experience is sponsored by NeoGenix. People hear this, and I think their first thought is when you hear, stem cells, I wonder if it's for me. So I was shocked to find out I was like a prime candidate because I'd had this nagging problem in my left wrist for years. And I had just kind of come to accept, this is just going to hurt from time to time. But Niko, talk about what is a typical patient? Talk about real quick why people contact you and who is your typical patient?
Yeah, a couple reasons. Number one, the most popular call we get is the person that has tried their steroid shots. They've done PT, gel shots if it's for knees. And the surgeons told him, okay, it's time to get your knee replaced. It's time to get the rotator cuff fixed, etc. And the person's like, you know what? I'm too young. I don't really want to do that. They start Googling options and they find, stem cell therapy. Stem cell therapy is kind of that gap in between what have you already tried and I don't want to have surgery. And there's also people that are more holistic. Ace, that would be the other person that would call us. Somebody that just wants something different than a steroid shot or popping a pill. They want something more holistic that's going to treat their body. So we either get the holistic people or the people that are facing surgery are our two most popular people that will call us up.
And again, it's an opportunity to get rid of that pain, that nagging pain, without surgery, without pills, without downtime. And I told you mine was fantastic, but we have another friend whose dad was visiting and they told him the story, somebody who TJ and I both know. And her dad went and got checked out and his back feels 100% better. It was
he's coming. I know what you're talking about. He's coming in for his follow-up on Friday. So
it's been life-changing stuff for him, and he absolutely loves 100%. And he had this back pain for years. So we'll tell you more about NeoGenix. If you want to find out anytime and want to find out more, you can just go to acetj.com/NeoGenix. It's NeoGenix. If you have questions for Niko, here at the end in a few minutes, you'll have a chance to ask him his questions, and he can kind of give you some more direct answers. But it is a free consultation. It's phenomenal. But waited for this one, because this was one of my favorite stories the other day when we talked about this on the show. And I've told probably 3 different people this story because I'm so fascinated by it. I have so many questions. Brandy, tell everybody your story that sounds made up, but is actually true. You're just driving down the road one day, right?
I was driving home from getting my kids dinner, and I made a right-hand turn at this pretty large intersection that's here in town. And I guess it was probably like a 10-second thought process, but I thought, oh my goodness, well, there's a hearse. Why is this man getting out of the hearse? The driver, I mean. And then I'm like, oh my God, the back door's open. Oh my God, there's a body in the road.
So the body was still attached to I guess it's a full gurney. It's still attached to the gurney. Is that correct?
Yes. So the gurney.
Is it on its wheels or on its side in the middle of the road?
No, it's on its wheels, but of course it's down, like it's not lifted up. And it had like a green blanket, obviously, over the person who was under it. But the blanket had kind of come off of the person's top half. So that part was exposed for a second. But that guy was scrambling to get out of that hearse, to get back there, obviously, and cover this person back up. And
here's one of my questions I had the other day when I was reading your story.
Yeah.
The gurney with the dead body on it is in the middle of the road. You see the driver getting out. You pull over and jump out of the car. Do you realize it's a dead body in the middle of the road as you're getting out of the car? Or are you already there when you realize, oh my God, this person is a dead body?
Yeah, no, I definitely knew it was a dead body.
Okay.
But there was like a median between us, and there was all cars pulling up next to him, but nobody was helping him. And this guy was just sweating bullets. It was like 102 heat index outside that day, and his pure sunglasses are sliding off of his face. So I just kind of did a U-turn around the median and pulled up to block the body.
Right.
And just put my hazards on and I got out of the car, and I'm freaking out as bad as he is. I was like, oh my God, do you need help? And he was like, yes. And by this point, he had half the gurney up back on its wheels, like, you know, up position, but he couldn't get it fully up by itself.
Because you have to have two people to work the other end of it, right? Okay.
And so I'm not a feet person, and I knew I had his feet in because I had seen where the man's head was at. So I looked terribly stupid in the middle of the road trying to keep this man's feet or this person's feet from touching me.
Yeah.
And we finally get the wheels locked back up, and I helped him wheel him back into the hearse. But the whole situation didn't make any sense because the man had come to a stoplight, but somehow, I mean, you would think if he hit the brakes, it would have thrusted it forward, but somehow his
that was going to be my question. If he knew what caused the body to fall out of the back of the hearse.
Was in such hysteria, I have no idea what to call.
Okay, so you grab one end, he grabs the other end, you navigate the traffic, you get the dead body, you wheel it back over to the hearse, you lower it down, you put it right back in.
Yes.
Close the door. Does he say anything or just thank you and he just takes off?
Yes, I just told him I was going to sit right there behind him to take as long as he needed to make sure that it was locked in properly. Right. And that I would just sit there as long as he needed me to block the traffic. But it didn't matter because when that light turned green, that man took.
So what do you do for a living, Brandy?
I work in the inpatient pharmacy in a hospital.
Okay, so at least I don't know. At least you're in a hospital. So it wasn't that shocking, maybe. It
was pretty.
It's over. He drives off. Then you just go back to your car. Your kid's food is there, and you're like, "Well, I guess I'll just go on home and take the kid's food home."
Youngest daughter actually in the car, and at the time she was only like 2 or 3, and so I'm trying to keep her from seeing all this at the same time. And so I get back in the car, and she's like, well, "Mommy, what's happened?" I'm like, "Nothing. I just had to help somebody really quick." But by this point, there's like all of this traffic has lined up next to us, and they all have like their cell phones out, and they're trying to record what's going on.
Oh. And
so it was priceless. The one car that was stopped right next to mine, the countryest people in it, and I swear to God, this lady witnessed us pick this person's body up out of the road and put it back in hers, and just as country and redneck as she possibly could, missing at least 3 teeth, she hollered at me, "Is everything all right?"
Well, that's the thing that stood out to me, is that once it's all over, all that excitement, and then it's like, well, okay, well, I just guess I'll go home and feed the kids now. That's immediately you're thrust right back into just average everyday life because you still got to go feed the kids.
I made a big Snapchat story about it. I was like, y'all will not believe what happened to me.
That's awesome. I'm glad you joined us, Brandy, because when I read that the other day, I was like, this is one of the first people that I want to have on to tell that story. That's a fantastic story.
It has been a crazy story. I've had to tell it a million times. That is for sure.
Of course you did. I would have to do the same thing. Thank you, Brandy. Thanks for being a part of the Ace and TJ experience. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
So, Niko, real quick, do you have a story you want to share with us also?
I don't necessarily have a story, but I have some oddities about me that I tell people, and they don't really believe it when I tell them.
Okay, wait. Let me ask you a question about NeoGenix first before we get to your oddities. While Rob gets to somebody else ready to go. Real quick, NeoGenix. Why are you so successful? Because your success rate you're well over 90% success rate. What makes NeoGenix, Charlotte's most trusted stem cell clinic, so successful?
Yeah, so we've built this clinic based on integrity. It says right in the front page of our website when you log on, Charlotte's most trusted stem cell clinic, because we do things the right way every day. No false hope, no high pressure sales tactics. If our doctors don't think they can help you, they're going to be the first ones to tell you. If your knee is too far crushed out with arthritis, if the rotator cuff is torn in half, if the ACL is torn in half, go get surgery. Okay, we have nothing to offer you, you know, but we welcome everybody to come in for that free consult to see if they're a candidate. You're going to get a thorough workup. You're going to get educated on the process. And then our doctors are going to give you an honest to God opinion on whether they can help you. And that's the reason why our success rate is so good. You know, Dr. Altizer himself, our founding doctor in Charlotte, I mean, he turns away sometimes up to 8 to 10 people a month that come in the door that he just doesn't quite feel comfortable that they're going to get the result they're looking for. So he tells them, look, I think you should go get surgery, or I don't think this is right for you. So integrity is the biggest reason why we do what we do and we have the success rate we do. Again, it's always a free consultation to see if you're a candidate. That includes a medical history. That includes a review of your imaging, your x-rays, your MRIs. We can do an ultrasound on you if need be. It includes an examination of the area of complaint. At that point, if we believe we can help you, we'll tell you what the treatment plan is with you. We'll go over any costs associated with that. And then you just decide from there if you think it's right for you. Do I want to do this or do I want to do surgery? It's totally the patient's choice at that point. We're not going to pressure you. We're not going to say to you, don't get surgery, you know, that you could die during, you know, we don't do any of that stuff. We're there to educate you and give you an opinion if we can help you or not.
Yeah, and that's a huge thing. If you set up the free consultation, it's super easy. They're the nicest people. They don't waste your time, and they let you know everything you need to know right up front. It's acetj.com/NeoGenix, and it's spelled NeoGenix. You'll see it right there on your screen. So, Niko, what are some of the oddities about you? Because it's rare that the person who is the sponsor of an Ace and TJ experience is like, oh, I fit perfectly into this category. What have you got?
Whatever that conversation comes up of, like, you know, have you ever done this or that or whatever, I throw my things out and I always get some, no way, that's true. So right off the bat, I've never had a cup of coffee. And people find that hard to believe because of how popular coffee is. Most people can't even without it. I've never tried it, done it, just have no desire to. Just have natural energy for whatever reason.
Okay.
Second one is I've never slept outside. People find that pretty odd. Being from Vermont in the outdoors, I'm a kind of a high maintenance sleeper.
Okay, when you say slept outside, does that include, like, have you ever like fallen asleep outside, kicking back in a swing of some sort and you dozed off? It's never happened?
Never happened. No, I wouldn't be able to fall asleep. It's just, it is what it is.
No camping, never camping or anything like that?
I just I have a weird thing about sleeping outside on the ground. I have to be in a bed or on a couch that's comfortable, or I'll never fall asleep.
You said you were a what were the words you used? A high maintenance sleeper?
I'm a high maintenance sleeper, yes. I'm a low maintenance guy, but I'm a high maintenance sleeper. I'm not afraid to say that out loud.
So what is required for you to get good sleep being a high maintenance sleeper?
So there has to be, I would take a pillow over a blanket if I had to make the choice, first of all. I'm going to have some sort of a headrest versus the blanket. You can always kind of cuddle up and put a shirt on or something like that if you have to. But got to be flat to some degree. Chairs don't work for me. It's got to be a couch, got to be a bed. And there's got to be some sort of a cushion on the head, or else I have no chance of falling asleep. And then the third one, really quick, Ace, is I've never had a Whopper or a Big Mac before. People find that weird too. I love burgers. I've had McDonald's, Wendy's, I've had them all, but I've never had a Whopper and a Big Mac.
Okay, so you've had McDonald's, like you've had a double quarter pounder with cheese. You just never had the Big Mac.
I've never had the Big Mac or the Whopper. People always say to me, "There's no way that's true." So
yeah, don't sleep on the Whopper. I mean, the Whopper's worth trying.
I get that all the time.
And they heavy mayonnaise that thing up, so you got to watch for that. But I think the Whopper is delicious.
I'm not a big mayonnaise on a burger guy. Are you a foodie at all, Ace? Are you a food guy? Or
not really. As I've gotten older, I'm no longer a mayonnaise on a burger guy. I love mustard. I'm a huge mustard fan, so I usually go mustard over mayonnaise all the time.
And ketchup and like pickles, relish.
Pickles, yes, all that kind of stuff. But no, I usually, if I have ketchup, it'll be something I probably just dip with, like I'll dip by the bite in the ketchup.
Okay.
But no, I'm not what you would consider a foodie, really, by any stretch of the imagination. I just like to eat. Whatever you got, I'm good to go.
Yeah,
I'm pretty simple.
I'm a pretty big foodie, so I'm all into cooking, and I love the whole aspect of food and everything.
So a lady texted a question, about NeoGenix, and I'll just read her text. What are the most promising advancements in stem cell therapy for joint regeneration or joint health overall? And what challenges still need to be overcome?
So I would say that the biggest advancements are, so let's take PRP, for example, Ace, what you had. PRP is being done everywhere right now. You can go to Ortho Carolina, you can go to Novant, Atrium, everybody's doing PRP. Okay, so as far as that advancement of the platelets kind of becoming accepted in all types of even traditional and alternative medicine, that's there. Where the advancements have really come is with the bone marrow and with the fat tissue. Those are the ones that are starting to get a lot of studies done with them, to kind of have as many with the PRP with it. And people are starting to use those more often. Not as common in the ortho clinic still, but the fat and the bone marrow aspect of it. They used to let you do stem cells, if you want to call them that. A lot of controversy on it from donated tissues, from the live births. It's not like, I don't know if you're a South Park fan at all, Ace. You watch South Park?
Some. I'm
Yeah.
vaguely familiar with most of it. Yeah.
I won't quote the episode though, but they have a pretty funny episode with Christopher Reeve on it with the stem cells and everything. But so these are actual donated tissues that they do all that, and the FDA in 2021 banned those because they weren't regulated, and there was good products and bad products. So the advancements, I would say, is weeding out the bad stuff, of getting that off the shelf unregulated stuff out of circulation, and then those further studies that are going on with bone marrow and with fat tissue, as far as what could be done there. In the United States, you can't culture stem cells. You can take them out and put them right back in. You go down to Europe, Mexico, the islands, they can play with them, they can manipulate them and do all that sort of stuff. Not in the United States. You can just take them out and put them back in. So there's still advancements that can be made. It's just a matter of if the government will eventually let people do it or not.
For anybody who may be watching, listening right now, and you hear this and hear about stem cells, I can only give you my experience, is that I thought it was a much greater process than it actually is. And by that, I mean, I just thought it was much more involved. I figured this is going to take a while. I'm going to have to go, then I'll have to come back another time, and it's going to be a thing. And it was shockingly easy.
Yeah.
It's not anything like I had built up in my mind. Just because it sounds in my head, it sounds like it's such a complicated process. And it is, but they have everything so set up and ready. They do like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And it was good to go.
That's a huge point, Ace. I mean, I speak at a stem cell conference in Florida about 5 times a year. And I give kind of like a marketing operational presentation, everything. And that's one of the things that I talk to these doctors about down there is they think it's such a process to do all this. They're like,
yeah.
I go, guys, I go, come shadow the clinic for a day. I go, you're not going to believe how easy it is. I mean, we're going to take bone marrow and we're going to take fat tissue out of a patient. Okay, numb them up, do all that, centrifuge it, spin it down, inject it back in them, and they're in and out of there in 45, 50 minutes. And we're going to inject both their knees. They're walking out under their own power. Now, you were sore for a couple of days, Ace, I'm sure. That's not the tender spot you got. 48, 72 hours later, you're like, okay, I'm good. And then this is not like a steroid shot where you're going to feel better right away because it's just masking the pain by turning off the pain receptors. This actually takes time. It takes anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks to really start seeing some results. And then depending on which studies you read, it can last all the way up to 8 months where it just gets better and better and better over time. So it's kind of a slow burn versus that initial, you feel better amazingly immediately.
Yeah, it was great. And they said, hey, it played out exactly the way that the doctor described it. Like you're going to be sore for a couple of days, then you'll notice it'll get better. And within 10 days, you'll have no pain whatsoever. And sure enough, by the 10-day mark, really before that, but on the 10, but I had noted 10 days coming up. Oh yeah, I don't feel anything at all. And it's gone. And it doesn't bother me at all anymore. And it was just super easy, way easier than I thought it was. And fantastic. I got another question for you, but if anybody has a question, just real quick, hit the raise your hand little button, or hit the chat and let Rob know that you have a question for Niko from NeoGenix regarding stem cell work. And this is an interesting question. Somebody asked, is there a chance the therapy can become a permanent cure?
So right off the bat, no guarantees in medicine. Okay, whether they replace your hip or they rotator cuff surgery or they whatever they do on you, there's no guarantees in medicine. So we can never say to you for sure, this is a permanent cure. It's always the most difficult question for people to when they call up, because a lot of people are like, okay, how long is this going to last me? Is it guaranteed to work? And my answer is always this. If our doctors, after they evaluate you, they review your imaging, they do an examination on you, they do a medical history on you, if they look you in the eye and say, look, I believe that you have a excellent chance of having results here, you're going to have a 9 out of 10 chance of having years of long-lasting relief. Can I tell you that's going to be 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? No. But we don't expect this to be, 3 or 4 months later, like, Ace, you're not going to come to me in 2 months and be like, you know what, my wrist is starting to bother me again. Now, it might in 2 years, it might in 3 years, it might in a year, you never know. It's just not something that immediately just wears off. It actually heals and repairs what's going on. So it's the longevity piece of it is impossible to answer, but you're going to have years of long-lasting relief if we take your case on. 9 out of 10 chance for that. Do people slip through the cracks? Of course they do. We treated over 5,000 people. Not everybody does well, but 9 out of 10 of them do excellent. We consider a 50% improvement, Ace, as our benchmark. I think surgery's 30% success. If you at least get 50% better, we consider that a successful procedure.
That's interesting. Your benchmark is already much higher than the surgery benchmark, so to speak. So you're expecting more from yourselves than what you could expect from surgery. I've meant to mention this earlier, and I should have. If anybody is curious about NeoGenix, here's what you do. Go to our YouTube channel and just, our YouTube channel is Ace TJ TV. And I did a little edition of my video podcast, Ace at Large, where I just filmed myself going through the process at NeoGenix. And you'll see how easy it is. You do the free consultation and they said, oh yeah, we can fix this. No problem. They drew some blood, spins it, spin it again. I go back in and they inject the PRP right back into my wrist. You can watch the whole process. And the whole thing, like I said, 45 minutes, I was done and out. But if you're curious as to how it works or want to know more, you can see just how easy it is by watching that edition of the Ace at Large video podcast, which has NeoGenix on it, because it was just me filming it on my cell phone and it turned out to be fantastic. So we've talked about a lot of things here when it comes to NeoGenix, 2 locations in the Lake Norman area and in Ballantyne, Charlotte's most trusted stem cell clinic. So let's review, though, real quick, in case anybody missed the beginning, Niko. It's not the same thing for everybody. You do have different types of treatments.
Yeah, and I'll kind of, just to kind of play a little bit differently off of that question too this time around, is, different areas of the body. So knees right off the bat, Ace, are the number one thing that we treat. For whatever reason, it's probably the weight-bearing big joint. It's the first one to kind of break down. Osteoarthritis, meniscus tears are the big ones for that. Number 2 is back. Treat a lot of people with back pain, whether it be arthritis, spinal stenosis, disc degeneration, sciatica, radiculopathy, those sort of things. Third, I would say, is shoulders. The big joints, the glenohumeral joint, the AC joints, and rotator cuffs are huge with that. And then probably hips and elbows afterwards. A lot of golfers' elbow, tennis elbow, or pickleball elbow, they call it now, because everybody's playing pickleball now. And there's different options for each one of those. Let's take the knee, for example. If you have mild arthritis, the doctor's going to give you PRP. If you have moderate arthritis, you're going to have PRP with fat tissue stem cells. If you have severe arthritis where you're facing surgery, you're near bone on bone, the doctor's going to give you bone marrow stem cells and fat tissue stem cells. So depending on the severity of your condition is going to be the level of treatment that the doctor offers you. And again, back to what we said in the beginning, if you're crutched out bone on bone or your rotator cuff's torn in half, the doctor's going to look you in the eye and say, go get surgery. We can't help you.
That's one of the things, though, that stood out to me when you say that. You use those phrases like rotator cuff. As a sports fan, that's one of those things you hear and it's like, oh, that's serious. But to think that somebody could get relief from that pain, within 45 minutes to an hour at NeoGenix, that's still surprising to me. Yeah, I'm surprised that the knee is your number one. I guess the number one thing that you've worked on that you've been able to fix for people is getting rid of nagging knee pain, because it seems to me nagging knee pain is something that will just drive you crazy.
Knees and backs are overwhelmingly more than anything else. And then I would say shoulders is a close third after that. Everything else is significantly below that. Those are the areas that break down first. Again, with the rotator cuff, Ace, it's all about the size of the tear.
Right.
If it's kind of moderately torn, the doctor will, if you don't have an ultrasound, Dr. Altizer or Dr. Kuzma, they'll go around to all your different muscles on the rotator cuff, your supraspinatus, infraspinatus. We'll check for impingement. So if you're having, pain when you're sleeping, bursitis, bicep tendon, they check all the different areas to see, make sure we give you a complete diagnosis before we agree to any treatment plan with you.
So here's what I can tell you. I had it done. Love it. One of the best medical related experiences of my entire life. It's been fantastic. Told some people about it. We have literally, I couldn't have asked for this to work out any better. I'm in NeoGenix. They've just finished my procedure. I am standing there talking to the doctor, and a member of the Ace and TJ radio family called to make an appointment while I was standing there, as if I had set the whole thing up. It was like one of the coolest things that's ever happened. So,
well,
and
that's the law of attraction, right? Isn't that how it's like you put that positivity out there, it comes back to
turned out great for that person because we've been talking about it on the air. And then I mentioned earlier, a friend of ours, TJ and I have a very close friend. Her dad went for a nagging back pain that he's had forever. And you said, Niko, he's coming. Is it Friday? He'll be back.
Think Friday's his PRP booster, Ace, which we do 6 to 8 weeks after the stem cells. And I believe he flew in from Nebraska for the procedure.
Yes. Yeah, he's raved about it. She said has made a huge difference in his world. It's NeoGenix. It's a free consultation because they could not be more straightforward with you. Oh yeah, we can take care of this. That's why their success rate is over 90%. They treat you right. They do things the right way. It's way easier than you may think. And it is very, very, very successful. And again, it's a free consultation. You have nothing to lose. Just go to acetj.com/NeoGenix, and you see it spelled right there on your screen, NeoGenix. You can set it up right there. It's so easy to do, and you'll be shocked at what a difference it'll make in your life, because if you're taking pills now for pain, you're off the pills. If you're worried about having to have a surgery or you're going to miss work and all this stuff, no pills, no downtime, no surgery, and they will let you know right up front, yeah, we're going to be able to take care of this. It's acetj.com/NeoGenix, NeoGenix. Stories have been great tonight. We're just learning how to do this, and we're having fun with the Ace and TJ experience. We'll absolutely be doing a lot more of these as we go through from now on, and hopefully we'll have Niko back as a sponsor. But do not sleep on the opportunity to get rid of that nagging pain in your life without surgery, without pills, and without downtime. Plus, thank you for sharing your own little oddities.
Yeah.
Niko, I appreciate it very much.
I get picked on for all the time.
Well, take care. Thank you, Niko. We'll see you soon. Thank you to everybody who was part of the Ace and TJ experience, and we will see you next time on the Ace and TJ experience.
Thank you, Ace, for having me.